No administration has helped Israel more than I have. None. None.
You're a fucking idiot, dude. You old, monstrous corpse. You fucking dingus. You dumb fuck. No administration has helped Israel more than I have. It's a fucking foreign country, you jackass. You're the goddamn American president. Have some fucking respect and decency for the office. Let's hear what the Biden surprise appearance at the White House press briefing was.
Oh, hey folks. My name's Joe Biden.
Welcome, Mr. President.
We've been waiting for you.
Welcome to the swimming pool.
This is great.
Hey, look, folks, good afternoon. Let's talk about the rest of the world looks at us and what we're doing.
Could you clarify some of your comments yesterday with regard to strikes on Iranian oil facilities? What did you mean by them, given some of the reactions we're seeing in the market?
Well, look, the Israelis have not concluded what they're going to do in terms of a strike. That's under discussion. I think if I were in their shoes, I'd be thinking about other alternatives than striking oil fields.
Good, Would you? Thank you, Kareem. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for being here. This week, Senator Chris Murphy said it's certainly a possibility that the Israeli government is not going to sign any diplomatic agreement prior to the election, which is what you have been calling for so long, potentially to try to influence the result. Do you agree?
This is the big one, dude. This answer is phenomenal.
Do you have any worries that Netanyahu may be trying to influence the election and that's why he has not agreed to a diplomatic solution?
Guys, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Really? No way. You think Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to influence the outcome of this election? That he's in the tank for Donald Trump? How could you make such a wild assertion? After all, Benjamin Netanyahu has, openly recognized that Donald Trump is the most popular politician in Israel, more popular than Joe Biden, and also more popular than Benjamin Netanyahu and any other Israeli politician. Donald Trump has done more for Israel than anyone else, really. And also, beyond that, Benjamin Netanyahu went to his house to kiss the ring. Wow. How anti-Semitic of this reporter to be asking these sorts of questions to Joseph Robinette Brandon. I cannot seem to place my finger on this. I can't understand how we would arrive at this conclusion that I have been screaming from the fucking rooftops for months at this point. You mean to tell me that Benjamin Netanyahu has routinely fucking shit on Biden for the past 12 months, as Biden has kept saying over and over again that he's just going full tilt, permanent genocide mode, no matter what? It's just weird. How else could we deal with this? How else could we possibly deal with this sovereign nation, our attack dog in the region, that is objectively out of control? How? Shocked.
No administration has helped Israel more than I have. None. None.
You're a fucking idiot, dude. You old, monstrous corpse. You fucking dingus. You dumb fuck. No administration has helped Israel more than I have. It's a fucking foreign country, you jackass. You're the goddamn American president. Have some fucking respect and decency for the office. These are things that I don't even give a fuck about myself, but you should.
None. And I think Bibi should remember that. And whether he's trying to influence the election or not, I don't know, but I'm not counting on that.
You've said many times recently that you want to speak to him, that you plan to.
No, I didn't say plan to. I didn't say want to.
You don't want to?
No, I didn't say that. You're making it sound like I'm seeking and then speaking. I'm assuming when they make the judgment of how they're going to...
This is good. This line of questioning is good. Maybe it'll piss him off to fucking actually... Because he's such a personally malicious and vindictive asshole that if they keep hammering on the point that Benjamin Netanyahu is making you look like a fucking clown ass, maybe then he'll change trajectory instead of crying about it behind closed doors and then giving unlimited weapons and trillions of dollars to Israel. Another $50 billion to Israel meme remains to be true. Potentially, maybe that's the angle here. I don't know. Another thing I've also mentioned, by the way, was that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to ruin his legacy over and over again. Maybe they should communicate that to Biden directly if they have opportunity to meet with him. Hey, Biden, you love your legacy. You care about it, right? You want to be known as the great elder statesman that saved this country from Donald Trump and then was a transitional candidate that allowed for a new American future. Benjamin Netanyahu is going to tank that for you single-handedly if you keep giving unlimited weapons to him to engage in a genocide. Everyone's going to remember you as a genocidal monster who got also made a fool. Donald Trump, at the very least, is like, no, I love the permanent genocide that Israel's doing. That at least to the dumbest Americans makes it seem like Donald Trump is the strong man in this relationship and not Benjamin Netanyahu, who routinely has made you look like a fucking asshole.
Going to respond. We will then have a discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, for being here. What are you advising the Israelis to do in terms of their retaliation to Iran? And at this point, you still haven't spoken to Netanyahu. Is it fair to say that you have little personal influence over what he decides to do?
No. Look, our team.
So this is great. This is great because like then he has to admit like, no, all the genocidal stuff that he's doing, I'm on board with, which he is, by the way. Just make no mistake. He is not some fucking random dickhead. Okay. He is actually personally invested in the permanent genocide. Okay. He is, which is why he's letting Benjamin Netanyahu do it. Just so you guys understand. He is, however, seemingly doing it in the most like squishy liberal way possible, where they have to like maintain the veneer of rule-based international order. Here, let me explain this to you. For example, makes you really admire all the falsified evidence expert testimonials that the State Department produces to try and pretend this is all above board, right? The Leahy Law is great because it proudly and smugly declares the U.S. cannot arm human rights abuses and then has a carve-out that's like, unless the State Department says nah, a true microcosm of the liberal rule-based order. You know a law is a real law when a handful of obscure members of Congress constantly have to try and pass subsequent laws to enforce the original law, a real thing that guides U.S. foreign policy. This person replies to Adam Johnson, says, makes you really admire all the falsified evidence that and expert testimonials that the State Department produces. This is a statement about the rule-based international order and the veneer that like the American government, the song and dance that the American government plays to make it seem like we have some rules, okay? Words cannot begin to describe how important it is to commit to the bit, how central the liberal rules-based order bit is to the United States bureaucratic NGO DoD soft power ecosystem of frustrated humanitarians. It can never die, no matter the evidence to the contrary. It is too big to fail. Once the bit shatters, you have a few million people who wake up and realize they're little more than 2-bit PR instruments, native informant recruiters, and selectively enforcing lawfare dweebs. It will never go away, regardless of how many war crimes the U.S. arms and funds in 4K. Do you understand? That is also why I always have like a little bit of frustration when I talk about NGOs. They might be right on the issue of Israel, but they are still playing that role of like, well, the American government, like, you know, it's more than just like an outsourced State Department vehicle. Like, I promise, like these are, and there are genuinely really good people that work at these institutions that do want to fucking help people, and they do marginally move the needle in the right direction. But ultimately, the U.S. the vestiges of American empire are going to behave in the ways that churn out the most bloodshed and therefore the best possible outcomes for the imperial core. Okay, all you're doing at that point is basically operating like a PR guy. You know, you're basically laundering America's reputation by saying, but look, we got these people. These are the people that are doing the right things. They're even saying it. That's why it falls on deaf ears. They play the exact same role that the United Nations plays, right? They play the exact same role that the UN plays. The UN is like, well, we got rules. Why are we not applying them? And then when you do try to apply those rules, America's like, fuck off, suck my dick. Those rules were not an application in Iraq nor Afghanistan. And those rules are not an application for Israel as well. Israel is an extension of America. That's it. They are there so that the educated liberal thinkers look to those institutions and go, well, you know, some reasonable people are out there. Some reasonable people are just like demanding that people listen to reason, right? Like, well, I guess maybe this is above board. I don't know. America would never do this if it wasn't above board. There's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of people that do actually feel this way. The New York Times readers, for example. Okay. The problem is Israel is so glaringly, obviously in violation of human rights that most people are losing faith in these institutions, even the educated liberals. The older educated liberals are not, because they're firmly committed to the bit. they believe America is, at the end of the day, the best possible version of global dominance you can get. The alternative is far scarier. You got China. Who knows what those guys might do? They're scary. They look different. They sound different. I don't really know their culture. I don't understand it. The alternative is Russia, the USSR, socialism. The alternative is Islamic fundamentalism. I don't want that. I'm scared of that. That's usually the way that people go about it, where they're like, yeah, American empire, they sometimes do evil things, but ultimately it's far better than the alternative, right? Far better than this spooky alternative. That's the way that a lot of people look at this situation, not really recognizing that like America has beefed up the Islamist fundamentalism in an effort to fight against the USSR back in the day, for example. Anyway, but having said that, it is pretty funny that like they still try to make these like specific lawfare carve-outs in the own song and dance that they're playing at a time when most people are no longer believing the song and dance. Do you see what I'm saying? Young Americans have checked out, okay? An entire generation of Americans is lost in terms of like believing mainstream media. They are completely checked out because they don't even have access to it for the most part. But beyond that, they're checked out in like believing the credibility of these institutions because they didn't do a good enough job of maintaining this song and dance. How the fuck do you bring these people back? How do you bring them back? They made the mistake of running the same exact propaganda that they've run for years and years when there was no alternative to that propaganda, when you had no way of seeing what Palestinians were saying on the ground, the victims of this genocide were saying on the ground. Now with social media, you directly have access to a person who's getting fucking bombed every goddamn week. And you're like, oh my God, this is unimaginable. This is death and devastation. This is death, destruction, and devastation of the highest order. How could we ever fucking let this happen? When that exists, quite difficult for CNN to keep having Jonathan Concuncrius, Frankenstein's monster's ugly ass fucking big old head, come in and contextualize why these Palestinian children had to be killed because they're fucking Nazi children or whatever the fuck they're saying. That's it. Doesn't work. And they haven't been able to pick up the pace on a full-throated propaganda machine that churns out these sorts of like biased results. They haven't been able to socially condition people into believing that like Israel is the defender of the Western world. It's the first shield against the Western world. There are, of course, some online that, frequent Reddit or some of these other places that already have like existing underlying Islamophobic attitudes, and Israel can capture them. But ultimately, it's a failed endeavor because people can still see the harm that they are causing. Anyway, having said that, however, Biden's response here is really fucking stupid. He's like, I'm the greatest defender of Israel. How dare you fucking say that?
Are in contact 12 hours a day. They're constantly in contact. I've already had my presidential daily brief. We've already had interface between our military, the diplomats. It's in constant contact. They are trying to figure out, and this is high holidays as well. They're not going to make a decision immediately. And so we're going to wait to see when they want to talk.
But over the past few months, they've consistently defied your administration's own.
Like, the media should have been asking this question like 8 months ago, man. What do you mean? How many fucking red lines was a red promise for fucking Benjamin Netanyahu? How many instances has Biden turned around and offered another $8 billion in weapon shipments to Israel over and over and over again?
Advice. So do you believe that the Israelis are going to listen to the advice you're giving them?
What I know is the plan that I put together received the support of the UN Security Council, the vast majority of our allies around the world, as a way to bring this to an end. Look, the Israelis have every...
They didn't ask that question. They know that. They're saying, why has Israel violated that over and over again and made you look like a fucking baboon? Do you think Bibi's kind of blackmailing the Dems for more dollars and weapons by expressing support for the Republicans, or is he really in it for Trump or for both? No, Benjamin Netanyahu is in the tank for Trump. It doesn't matter because he knows fully that like the influence that the pro-Israeli lobby and its prominent influence on American politics is already set. So neither party is going to swing away from that. Neither party is going to swing away from that. Came to check on my dad, and he's literally doing the meme. That's hilarious. every Lebanese dad. That's fucking hilarious. This is like every Arab father and unc, dude.